topics and opinions expressed on the following show are solely those of the host and their guests, and not those of W4CS Radio, its employees, or affiliates. W4CS makes no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for listening to the Cancer Support Network on W4CS.com.
Hello. Good to see you guys once again. And I know Artie's here with us as well. So she will be back shortly, she said. She just had to run off real quick and handle some things. All in all, I am just meeting up with you guys today in a moment of pause on a Friday, given the fact that every day I start with these different thought processes of what I needed to do today. And it gets overwhelming. And so I was sitting here thinking about all the things, making my list, trying to make them, knowing I was never going to go back to the list, Artie. This list will be the list that will sit inside a book, and I will never get back to it. I even will tell myself over and over, I'm going to do it, and I just don't do it. So all in all, how are you doing these days?
I'm good. First of all, thank you for, I really love today's topic about habits because we have to continually talk about habits. I think you and I did talk about them in January, and can you believe we're in May? And it's a good time. Like, I just feel like it's a great time to talk about it again. Yes.
But my daughter always says, Amen. And I'm like, girl, stop it.
It's a true story to do this conversation like all the time.
Yeah, it's a little rough. Like, I was thinking about it. So in the midst of trying to research this whole thought process of habits, right, I was realizing, does it really control a lot of what we do, right? So when we were putting together the post, I was saying to myself, okay, how are our habits possibly like controlling our lives, like what we do on a day-to-day? And it was kind of amazing kind of thinking about it. Like, if I really thought about what a habit was, right? So I found out it's all the subconscious like things that you do, not the conscious things, not the things that take effort. So it's like, you know how many things that you do that are in that subconscious and consistent way of like, this is whether it be how I raised you. Like I said to myself, I am putting so many habits into my children. It's crazy. And it's like, I'm not on purpose. You know what I mean? It's clearly one of these things where I'm like, okay, this is how we do it, you know?
Do you see why some people don't want to raise? I mean, like many people are choosing not to have children because, so this this conscientious generation realizing, okay, we need to save our planet. We need to parent a different way. And like why are we noticing that many people are choosing not to have children? Because you said it, like you feel like you can make or break them, right? And so you're right about habits. Like, I mean, Daria, I'm glad you brought up habits with children because I think sometimes I'm struggling too. Like, I'm losing my cool in the morning a lot. Like,
tell me about it.
rivalry in the morning. I'm like, dudes, come on. I haven't even had my morning coffee. I haven't even meditated. I haven't done anything. Like, what is the, and so then I know everyone, I texted Daria this morning because we took this, it's Art of Living, which is a really great organization, nonprofit. And, we took this really great sky meditation, but you have to be committed to doing it. And we had a check-in session with our facilitator, and then after that, Daria, I like fell off the bandwagon again. And I don't know if it's, and I also believe a lot in energy like you do. Everyone this week was reporting being really off. I haven't checked into the moon cycle or whatever is happening, but so then when Dario was like, I'm doing and one of them is the ocean breath, the Ujjayi breath, I was like, yeah, but I'm not doing my sequence, right?
Right, but you do it. Like, I think the thing about it is just knowing that type of breathing, even sometimes, you know what I mean, or when you can, is going to open up a lot of space. So it's just, even this morning, it's so funny you started talking about this, because this morning John was like sitting in the kitchen breathing, and I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm breathing. And I'm like, okay. But I think you need to do like these ujjayi breaths. Like, you got to breathe like if you were trying to fog up the window, you know what I mean? But with your mouth closed. He was like, what? So totally trying to like bring them there. You know what I mean? I'm like, that's why you need the class, because I'm clearly not the one.
I know, but I feel like right when you said that, fog, I'm like, and so I'm teaching this kids yoga class, and I'm like, I told them how to do this as well, because like, I'm like, yes, it's so good. And then there's a South Asian mental health consortium, and even though I didn't present this year, I was like, can I do a breathwork meditation session? So they took me up on it, and I did do that. I told them that this one breath can be so powerful, and I've been doing it wrong the whole time. Not that there's a wrong, but like, but I was so humbled, Daria. One of the people wrote in the chat, she's like, do you record your meditation? I was like, dang, girl, really? Oh, okay. This is kind of a compliment.
I told you, you get me all the time. I'm telling you. I'm like, bring it, Arti.
It's so,
like, I don't know what it is. I mean, sometimes it's in the voice. You know what I mean? And
what are you laughing at? I'm laughing because clearly Arti has a very high-pitched voice. My mom had a high-pitched, I'm realizing, but she was a beautiful singer. And and now I'm realizing it took me a long time to get here, but like, we all have a voice, and we all have different range. And so it's been humbling to know if my leading something, and it always gives me such joy when I get to have these sessions for myself. It's a selfish gift to give something that you get to receive. So I don't, you know what I mean? Like,
I know that, like, reciprocation, it just kind of, and it's going back and forth. It's just that synergy in reference to giving of self. I think that's the whole thing about giving.
But don't you love it?
I definitely do. That is probably, yeah, I that's the part I love. I think that's why I hate when like I'm stuck, you know what I mean? Whether it be the mentally and trying to like clear my head and mind to be able to like project and just like release some of the thoughts and feelings. Sometimes I'll be in it, but then I'll have these times where it's just can't get there. And it's not, I don't know what it is. But it's definitely something that I said to myself, there's a block, like I'm blocking, you know what I mean? And so that's the whole aspect of, you know, going into having like meditation or prayer, you know what I'm saying? And just kind of getting into the inner space, pausing for a moment. Sure. You know what I mean? Trying to pull things together.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ask you, like, and I don't know if you remember, but when we first did the topic a little bit in January, and now we're back at it again, it's always associated with guilt. I hear guilt in your a little bit of, while you're figuring out rhythm, I hear guilt, and I'm always telling you I feel guilty when, like, I'm feeling guilty that this beautiful practice that we actually went through,
Right.
and people who are like, where is it that my commitment to self, right, like self, like the habits to self? And I think I mean,
Mhm.
do you think guilt sits with you on this as well?
I think with me, it's more like being depressed because like I'd feel probably guilty if I'd never tried. You know what I mean? But I had a practice of doing like whether Tai Chi 3 times a week, for like 2 hours, one on one, you know, getting through working with, bows. It was just a practice, getting into meditation, additionally, how I ate to live, you know what I mean? That is where I'm depressed due to the fact that I didn't keep going. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
then creating a pattern of not, right, or sinking into the how the body wants to feel
Mhm.
and wants instead of like mind over matter. And for a long time in my life, I was always living with a mind over matter because it was like, well, first you didn't know you had a disease, right? And then you have a disease and you push through it. And then, life kind of sees like, okay, you can manipulate and work with it. You got to adapt, adapt, adapt. So even if you got a habit, it's going to change, you know what I mean? But at the same time, um, there was a flow to it. And then you get tired, you know what I mean? And so that's where the habits become, you know, a little bit more self-serving, you know what I mean? And so then you then create a guilt because you're having to think about self, So if I were talking about stages, you know what I mean? Yeah, I think it gets to that. But there's something that's gone on before you got guilty. Like and the word, and I feel like also not to use the word guilty because guilty is definition wise, right? Speaks of you intentionally doing something to harm others, right? Are you
Mhm.
intentionally doing any of that? No. So guilt is something to take off the table, I think, anyway,
Do you
in
feel
reference to, would you say?
sorry,
Shame?
I'm going into feeling words now, wheel a little bit.
No.
Could it be shame? Or what are you
Yeah.
thinking?
Oh, it could definitely be shame. It's just depending on like, you got to recognize there's the words that are for you internally, right? And then there's ones that are outside projections, right? So the things that people say and do and act and how the family should be, right? Or how your life should be, you know what I mean? And how, yeah, and then you become ashamed of it because of what other people think, right? So ashamed is the what other people think, What I feel like about myself is really where I usually lie, right? I'm like self integrity, you know what I mean? Making like that's why doing for others feels so good. You know what I mean? Um, but I feel like guilt is definitely one of those words that just trying to change what the word would you put in the place, right? But I've been looking at that one guilt and it's like,
You're right.
it's not guilt. You
That's
know what I
not a
mean?
we think about feeling wheel. I know we don't have it up, but like,
Yeah.
but you're right. Guilt is, and then while you were talking, I was thinking when you talk about shame, internal, ashamed, external, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you're right. Like perception of what others think about us affects how
Hmm.
we look at our habits,
Hmm.
how we internally process our habits, and then like I just had a conversation with um one of my dearest friends who's like a sister to me. Like the fact is that when you're, for instance, when you're in your 40s and like you like accumulate body, like, and she was talking about exercising and working out really well, but where did the pounds come from? And I was just remembering, like, I look at pictures of my own mother. If you look at the 40s for most women, with the hormones and everything, it is really hard. The fat content is increasing as a muscle, right? Is decreasing in some way.
Decreasing.
So it is a hard period to do whatever you're trying to do to your body, right? These
right. Just in general.
And so there's a lot of like habit create, like your old things not working, trying to develop new and this internal external pull of like, and if so, it just got me prompted me thinking, Daria, like habits for that physical self that we're always constantly striving for. We're all trying to be living well for whatever it is. But
I think it's when we're talking about like the external, I think everything is like little increments of change, right? Because if you think about it, right, the creamer you use in your coffee every single day, right? How much creamer is it, right? That could put a pound on over time, right? So, and then this becomes a habitual thing. I think it's really, this is what I meant to tell you. Okay, so there was this article that was talking about how much of our actions are actually based off of our habits, right? In a day, 43% of our daily actions are habitual, basically. You see what I'm saying? So if you wake up in the morning and the things that you do throughout that before you go out the door, how much of that is habit? How much of when you're in your car and what you listen to, or additionally, if you have to have your drink of coffee in there, if you have to have coffee in general, I was even looking at it, something as simple as this. So I'm getting ready to go into this, and then I had gone like this, right? Now that is not the bracelet of the day.
Girl, you're living my surroundings.
Okay. So I'm like, this is a habit, right? Why? Because I'm doing hair. Okay. And so this is why you get these little habitual things.
Girl, I love rubber band bracelets, okay? I'm just saying, even though sometimes I'll wear my other ones, I love me my rubber band bracelet.
This is it.
Right? Habit.
Habit. The thing about it is, what I was also looking at, the fact that how much of in the industry, right, has looked at our habits and said, hey, let's feed on that.
I already know what you're going to say. I already know what you're going to say. Taking advantage of.
I'm just saying. So there is so much to think about in reference to habits, I feel like, in general. But what do you think of habit versus self-control?
Sorry, I got to go back before you.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You just got me all riled up on this. People, like corporations, taking advantage of habit formation.
I knew you were going there because you are big on that.
I got to do some research on like Noom, now that we're talking about, right? Like Noom is a little bit more psychological, like helping you with that motivation piece for longevity. Right. But like, Daria, like it's nuts, right? This is a really bad example, but my daughter, like lip gloss. She's going in the toy aisle looking for lip gloss. I said, "Girl, when it's time, when it's time, and this is the cosmetics section, my dear. Like, we will be buying it." And then I even showed her, okay, this one has coconut oil. Like, I was like, "Dude, you really want titanium dioxide from the toy section on your?" They have capitalized on these girls. Like, do you see what I'm saying? Like, why is it up in the toy section? Because it's. We all want to get glamified, right?
This is it.
Even kids want to start wearing makeup. Like now I'm remembering, why am I being so tough on them? I don't remember what I wore a lot of makeup in high school. Was it middle school? But maybe everything's shifted a little bit.
Everything's shifted. And then what do you do if, like, so how do you make your kid kind of shift beyond that thought process of needing makeup, And so it's like what you display in front of them. It can't be you without makeup, because that is not going to sell them. I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm going au natural for like just for some presentations
Totally.
and some wedding, right? And then you're in. I know for
I
you.
don't wear makeup. I just put lipstick on. I totally agree with the natural, right? But if you're not having like role models or famous people in front of them that they're seeing that are natural, it's hard.
It is hard. It
It's
is
hard.
hard. And we all
Even the dress and the
right. We always glamify the nails that are done.
mhm, mhm.
I will tell you though, friends of mine say that one of the things they love to do is getting nails done for you, for themselves, right? And so that's also like these habits that we have. And I'm like, oh, I just realized I've never prioritized my nails. So like, well, no, that's not true. High school, a couple times I got them done, did the acrylics. I think now I'm realizing even raising these girls, they're gonna go through like my younger ones all about wanting gel soon, right? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I need to slow down my what I have to go back and go into that mindset 30 whatever years ago. I'm an older mom. I don't know. I don't know. And then I'm like, wait a minute, these are habits. I never really did my nails that much. Whereas someone who is always doing their nails, right, is also gearing their. So back to what you were saying about parenting and habits. We don't even realize what we're doing sometimes, right?
Right. Well, I think once you open the first door, you know what I mean? It's like they're going to want it just because it's cool, right? To mimic others and just do. At the end of the day, it's seeing beyond it, you know what I mean? And seeing how the not needing it, you know, and that's hard to fight that the whole game, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I feel like dads are really I feel like they're very should being in the lives of little girls and obviously boys, but at the same time are very intricate in how they feel about themselves in any way they look. You know what I mean? And so I feel like there's a lot of us that have fathers that are in their lives. To what extent also, you know what I mean? You always have to think about, are you over, are you under, and males in the parenting thing, it's, something to be worked on, but same with the women, because, there's aspects that I think our habits and ways of doing things and our ways of thinking have created like this generational boom boom, talking about big habit, like
Habits that too. We're talking about it. Maybe you don't even realize, like even getting your hair done, like getting nails done, like what messages that we deliver to our children, and like so much of it is habit.
Right. Our environment does shape like our habits a lot too. You know what I mean? I think that's another thing, is recognizing how some things perpetuate or feed, whether it be good or bad. You know what I mean? And it's really having yourself, or even if you have children, your family, in environments that are going to be positive. Granted, there's going to be stank in everything, but at the same time, I think that's the valuing self, but having values in general and being mindful of others is huge.
Dara, you got me thinking about something. When we do reflection, we also think about habits throughout time. Like one form of exercise that I realize I really have always loved is dancing, right? It kind of got and like that movement. And so Zumba is a great form of movement. And so I was like, oh, wait, why am I pressuring myself to be like standing in front of the treadmill? Like I even had a treadmill in the house, didn't use it. I've had everything, right? So, like you realize sometimes some of your habits also go back to patterns from
things that you like. You're going to gravitate to things that you have an interest to. You know what I mean? And that have like a fulfilling sense to it. I know I can totally hear you, because as I wasn't able to, whether it was my day wasn't allowing it or whatever, being able to put on Zumba for a quick minute, was one of these moments to kind of let go at the same time as being able to get that exercise. Also, as my brain was like not as coordinated anymore, it was like, okay, let me hear it, and I can, and watch the thing. And so I got many things like telling me what to do next, right? And so I think it was being able to, that was fulfilling too. So you're bringing me back, so I thank you.
Totally. I have some news for
I got to
you.
get that out again.
I have some news for you. Last weekend, I got Zumba. Well, I realized Zumba certified for kids, but then I got Zumba certified for adults. But I cannot dance with, like, have you ever watched me? My friends make fun of me. Like when we do choreographed, I go this way. But guess what? I thought it would be so fun because I would just be like,
you're leading. You can't mess it up.
but it's so fun, right? Because then they'll be like, what is happening? But it's just fun.
I know. Is John here? I think I hear something because,
I wonder if he's on camera. But it just reminded me of how much when you do you have to keep that reflection going for habit formation. Like, what is your root? What is your root? What are the roots that call you? And then you notice, like you and I talk a lot about wraparound services to make sure people are getting what they need. But same with like creating the silo internally. Like, where do you find your passion and drive? That might have been there and it keeps looping and bring it back. But that takes like analyzing your current habits and your former habits to then find
definitely. Because I think so basically when we're talking about changing habits, they're talking about this repetitive action.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another thing, is how much of the good habits and the bad habits are we repeating and continuously keeping consistent? Obviously the bad habits we don't want to, but how do you break them too? So it's like trying to figure that out, which is always exciting, because I think you try to break something and then you're good for a minute and then all of a sudden, bam. Like I remember I used to always call myself Luther, right? Because I was like up and weight, down and weight, up and weight, down and weight, you know what I mean? Because I think I got to a sense of like I could, well, the thing about exercise and losing weight and all that kind of stuff, you got to recognize it's whether you're putting it in or you're taking it out, you know what I mean? You got to recognize how much and keeping those numbers in line. Like 3,500 calories is 1 pound, you know what I mean? Like, okay, now I know, okay. So now I at least keep that down. You only having so many meals a day, so work in, work out, I think. Putting it in and kind of working it out. You got to balance it out, take off some. I don't know. That's what the thing is. I ran 5 miles a day. I used to go to the gym. And so now it's just like to not be doing becomes frustrating.
So you've mentioned multiple times, right? So where can we take the theme? There's always themes and sorry, now I'm going to education. I almost spit my head. I was just in a conference with themes and concepts, right?
Yeah.
So running, gym, what did you enjoy?
So I know I enjoyed all of it. Like, it's the thing about it, it's being able to continue the rest of the day and not be too tired. It's like constant, you know what I mean? Which becomes like, okay, well, how much do I put into this? And then, but no, I got this ahead of me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I just finding the balance is what it is really. But like simply just going, taking the dog for a walk, that kind of thing, and making it back, that's it. But at the same time, I've been able to, it was good, like once I started walking, to see that I could do more than I thought I could do. But at the same time, the other end of like, okay, and now we're going to bed. So
balance.
Yeah.
But I do love the fact that you talked about walking, because I mean, I don't know if it's that we're getting old, Daria, but most people are realizing the value of, if you did exercise in different ways before, what the modification of how beautiful even walking is
Yeah.
as a
Oh,
form
definitely.
with the movement, and how, like, even
Tai
within,
Chi. Oh, that was
yeah.
great.
I was about to bring time, and last week somebody in chat said, "Can you do walking meditation during?" And I said, "Yes." Like, there are walking meditations, and there's ones where you can literally go in your backyard and take off your shoes and walk in the grass. And if like, I think getting grounded, walking allows us to really connect with the earth, and that's what's missing, Daria. Like, because when
That's
you're
it. I know.
right, when you're
Yeah.
sedentary, you
Oh,
are
I love
maybe
in
rooted.
nature.
Yeah. And have you noticed, if you're sitting, you're not actually, I don't know what you're doing with your feet right now, but just if everyone pays attention, normally you're not like truly grounded. But when you
Right.
walk, in the way that, even when you're outdoors, like you said, using your five senses, it's really.
Yeah, definitely.
People love walking their dogs, like for you, right? Like.
Yep. I know. I love like going on nature walks, things like that. I think also brings me back with like going with my mom back in the day on walks as a kid. You know what I mean? She'd always take us like out into the woods and stuff like that. And I always want to do that with my daughters as well. So it's like, granted, it's finding places now. It's not as easy as it was. Some of the places like during the pandemic like grew over in where we live. So all in all, but I think creating those habits again, you know what I mean, is so important to try to do.
You always get stuck in, where do I start, right? So maybe what do you think about going to the wellness wheel and starting with using?
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. And so that was basically where I have been looking at. I said this weekend I wanted to do another one. And actually I had been waiting to do it with my, because I'm doing like a grief training with my church. And so I was gonna wait and do it with them. But then I think I just need it now anyway. So just to kind of get myself motivated for the moment.
Motivated for, yeah. I mean, again, I know I've said this 20 times in this conversation, but this is a really good time to be having this talk. And we're almost midway through the year, you all. The first quarter's done, like these
Crazy.
checks.
I can't even believe it.
Yeah.
I can't believe we're already here. I know. I looked at it and I was like, 6 months is almost upon us.
6 months is almost upon us, right? And everybody can, there's a period of life where if you're raising young children, everybody's like, it really flies by. But now we really talk about ultra speed constantly. And so catching up what you want to be doing with your time, how you want to form your best life possible with creation of habits, or letting go of habits. And Daria, this is the other one that we're finding, like, on my Instagram, I do have a lot of people that I follow for sobriety checks, because a lot of people are realizing that they just really want to either reduce their alcohol intake or not use it as a crutch, because so many of us are feeling so stressed that sometimes it's like, and I think I talked to you, but why are we pushing sobriety so hard and happy hour until we realize, like, wait a minute, and drinking is a habit, right?
Cinco de Mayo today, girl. The thing about it is,
I'm glad you brought Cinco de Mayo. Yeah, go ahead.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think there is, number one, the pandemic was rough on people in reference to habits, and the bad ones, the good ones. I'm trying to find ones. I think in reference to drinking, that is honestly a patternistic thing that does kind of just grabs an individual, and it's really trying to figure out how to break it. But it is so you have to not even the want it, because I don't feel like there's a, hey, I want it, want to be here in this, right? I think it's, you have to be able to have a hone on the tools. You know what I mean? Like, what are those tools? And I, obviously, like the AA programs out there have been doing it for years, but there's a lot of recognition that you have the internal tools to do a lot of it. But it's not an easy road, and nobody can claim anybody else's road. You know what I mean? But I mean, it's,
we've glamorized it in this country. So if you've decided to kind of curb your drinking a little bit, or maybe just really seldom, like it's frowned upon. Like, I don't know when the shift happened, right? Like, where it's like,
right.
socially you'll feel like, and but now the movement's starting, it's shifting a little bit. But Dari, this morning or yesterday on the radio, they were just talking about, like, at 6 a.m. meet us at 6 to 10. You can have this type of margarita, and then right before you have one before you go into work. And I was like, dude, what? Like, yeah, totally. But go after. Like, can you please party
Can
on
you
it?
go after work? Yeah, right. Is there a Cinco de Mayo at 5? Right, I know.
Don't get me wrong, tequila was my choice like back in college, but now I'm like, I don't. That stuff is gross to me, right? Like,
I know. I have never been. John is always been laugh. I'd definitely be a cheap date, because I can't even get through like a half a glass of wine. Like, I'm kind of whack on that kind of thing. Altogether. I could not. Yeah. Like, I could,
no. But the 6
whether
a.m.
it be,
window of drinking before you go into work, you can have one, and then later on you can have two. And I was listening, I'm like, oh my gosh. And all it reminded me, Daria, while we're it's so habitual in our, like it's right. So then when you're not drinking,
right.
or decided to curb that habit a little bit, you're like, oh, that's external. You talk about external habits that drive our internal locus of control. It's hard.
Right. Oh, definitely. Definitely. I can't, I mean, there is plenty of things in my life that I know I'm like, I can't get rid of doing that, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing. I'm trying to think of like how many crazy things I do. Okay. I'll admit my M&Ms, remember my peanut butter M&Ms. Don't want to make it a commercial right now, but at the same time, okay, I have to freeze them and then eat them. And that is a habit I need to break. And John tries. He tried to even, at least I'm going to say this, tell me a fib, okay, that they didn't have them at the 2 stores he went to. And I'm like, I've bought him enough around me in all of these places that he could have gone, right? Enough times that they know that they're going to make money that month, okay? They're buying them, okay? Where did you go? Okay, I didn't ask for nothing. I just sat there and ate other things, which I think it's anything with peanut butter right now I'm having a craving for, because I was like, Nutter Butters, right? That's another one.
So yeah,
creating bad habits.
No, but you have, and I was just thinking while you're talking about sensory, like M&Ms, all these things, all the candy out there. Because I mean, girl, I thought I did a good job, but now they're always looking for like the red light food versus the green. I'm like, gosh, you guys were doing so good, but now I'm like, what? But it's because they're getting exposed to more of it, and
you're making them come in with earthy, crunchy stuff, okay? And that is not cool, Mom. You're making us look like.
Girl, they got potato chips in their lunch today because it's crunch. But I mean, I put a balance, but it's still not like, they're gonna go this weekend to the camp and they'll see like, oh, we have goldfish crackers. I asked their favorite other trail. It's the orange processed stuff, but it's a habit. And then back to the industry, that stuff, like all that feeder system, it gets hooked onto our brains, and we want more of it. So we have to be really mindful, Daria, with the alcohol, nicotine, because it literally, they make money off of us, people.
With your habits, right? I know it's. I know.
What
And
about
they make it look cute and glitzy and all that kind of stuff.
these flavored vapor? You know what I mean?
The
Like
vape
the vape.
pens or whatever.
Yeah, like when they flavor them up for these kids, like cotton candy. I mean, you tell me.
I don't even think they can sell them up here anymore because we were having kids that were passing away and things like that for vape pens. I don't think they can't sell them to the kids, or I don't know. There's some restrictions up here, but I've seen that, yeah, they're able to get them just like, cigarettes were able to be gotten for, because the kid looked older than he was and somebody wasn't looking or whatever the case may, or they're getting them from somebody else. Or I think that's this type of stuff that, we got to be, when we talk about mindfulness, like we don't want some of these things for our children. You know what I mean? And it's like, but if they're consuming your brain, so, right, you can't, the expectation of you being able to see that clearly in that moment is sometimes, ridiculous to even think about. But at the same time, I think that we have to be mindful of that, like the responsibility that we took on when we decided to have children. You know what I mean? Whether you wanted it or not, you know what I mean? At the
I
same
didn't know it'd be this hard in this generation.
Girl, you better wake up because it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, this type of stuff. I mean, there's people that are out there that are feeding off their habits. Even the what is it called? The sex trafficking.
Oh gosh, don't get me started.
That is based off of a lot of habits. You know what they do? They watch the girls' habits and see what they want or need or whatever, and then they feed it.
On that whole thing, I went to her. Did I tell you we're I'm gonna start busting out crying. We are number 3 in the world on sex trafficking. Did you know I was again blinders on? I thought maybe we were in the 2030. We're a first world nation acting like, and girl, it's happening right under us. Yep. And you're right. It is about they literally analyze, study. And so sometimes when my kids talk about like these kids getting on Roblox, I'm like, look, all of this stuff, you don't know who you're talking to, and they're going to feed off of, and then they're going to make your mommy sound awful because she makes you eat healthy, and then they're going to tell you they're going to give you Cheetos every day, and guess what? You're going to love them because you want Cheetos every day, right?
Right. Right. But the thing about it, you know what it is? It's like religion, right? I feel like nutrition, religion, you give it to your kids, they run from it, they come back, you know what I mean? And but at the same time, you don't give up in trying to instill. And I think, there he is. We're about to close out. Oh my gosh, how are you? You haven't been
frustrated.
Frustrated with what?
With the stupid Wi-Fi and internet and modern technology. How about that?
How about that? Is right.
He went there. You know
what's crazy?
And my tablet is blown. It won't even turn on.
Oh, he's really upset now.
He is upset. He said every device known to man has not cooperated.
You hear him tapping? He's tapping in everything. That's a habit he does. So, John, we're talking about habits today, and we're trying to figure out how much you feel like habits control your life. Not others' habits, your own habits, because I know what you're going to say.
He's getting a book. He's going to read a quote.
Yeah, I know.
I was going to get a book, but we don't have that much time. So for me, I think habits are positive and negative. There's good habits, there's bad habits. And a habit is, what do we define a habit as? What is a habit? What is the definition of
There's your dictionary. Go ahead.
What is the definition of a habit? I mean, it's something that you do ritualistically, if that's a word. If not, I just made it up. It's something you do religiously.
Well, unconsciously too. Like there's an unconscious thinking that you do. It's not a basically when we're talking about self-control, that would be something that would be with effort. Whereas habits, there's no effort to it. It just unconsciously done.
Yes, in most, I would agree with that in most situations.
Okay.
But I also would have to say, at the beginning of it, I believe that they are absolutely conscious. That it's like brushing your teeth is a habit, right?
Hmm.
That's a habit that
They've started
um,
that way.
we
Okay,
want to get into, want to get our kids into something that we want them to do because we know it's good for them in the long run. And so they wake up, we tell them go to the bathroom, go wash your face, go brush your teeth, maybe brush your teeth after you eat. Otherwise, it's a waste of time brushing your teeth. So you put these orders in place, and then you have them do those things faithfully or religiously or ritualistically every single day until they learn. When I wake up, I go to the bathroom, I wash my face, I go downstairs, or I go to the kitchen, I eat breakfast, I leave the table, put my stuff in the sink, go back to the bathroom, take a shower, brush my teeth, get dressed. Well, before I get dressed, put on deodorant, lotion, all of that, get dressed, and go out the door.
so
Yeah,
wonder if somebody challenges you come upon, right? And somebody challenges that way of
that
doing
routine.
that routine. Like if your child meets somebody and that routine is then a little bit different, what happens then? This that's what
I
I'm.
think I think
Do you
for
feel like
me,
it's like, oh my God, like
for
you
me,
can't
it is definitely a oh my God. It's like, hold on. How are you gonna try to tell me that this thing I've been doing all these years
yep.
is not right? Let's
That's
let's
it.
talk about the way you do things because there might be something that you can change because this has worked for me for all these years to do it this way, and now you want me to change it. Nah, it's not that easy because
And welcome to our house.
I was the same thing when our conversation, Daria, habits and relationships. Because I was talking to my like, right? Sometimes we change. It's like even when you're in a relationship, how that external piece plays a role, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you got to change your patterns and the way you wash the clothes and all that.
Totally, John. You're gonna have to close this out because we're like down to the wire time.
no, okay, no problem. But yeah, I think habits can be controlling um, if you find bad or good. Thinking about we have methadone mile out here, and what that is that's the area where a lot of homeless, drug addicted individuals find themselves. It's similar to Skid Row in LA. That's Massachusetts or Boston's version of Skid Row. And for all intents and purposes, most of the people there have habits, and those habits aren't healthy habits. But there's little help for them, and they need a lot of help to break those habits. And
Right.
most of those habits um, are drug related, which means now you have a habit because there's a chemical in addiction. And so that is a bad habit that you need external help with dealing with. And so, we call it an addiction. And so, is there a difference between habit and addiction? Because addiction creates a habit. And so, habits create addiction. So, are they synonymous or are they different? And so, then you look at what are good habits. I wake up in the morning and I like to try to make the bed as much as possible.
Right. They say it's productive.
I, that's a habit. It's a routine. It's something that I was taught early in life and something that I carried on for most of my life in my daily routine. I wake up, I try to make the bed because I was taught, and then I realized that now it sticks in my head.
Mm-hmm.
Your room could be a mess. But if the bed is made, your room doesn't look as much of a mess as it would look if your bed was unmade. So make up your bed because now you have a clean surface. If you want to, if you're tired, you just lay down. So there's good habits and there's bad habits depending on the person, and it could be subjective because some people might think, why you make your bed up when all you're gonna do is get in it and mess it up? I've heard that plenty of times.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, thank God he's in the relationship to make the bed.
You all have time. Unfortunately, we'll continue this because this habit and addiction is really an important conversation. We'll have to fit this in somewhere, you all.
Absolutely.
Thank
And I do apologize for not getting on earlier. I tried. I had modern technology struggles, and now I think I have to go buy me a new
Okay. This
machine.
is a habit. I gotta go. Love ya.
Everyone,
Nice seeing you as always, Artie.
you too. You too.
Babe, I see.